And I'm Amy.
That's Amy. Okay, so we are going to talk about stuckness today.
Mm-hmm.
I have not posted to TikTok or Instagram in probably 2 weeks. My whole content framework is like a ruin of
Let's not use ruin. We're not going to.
Some word that is like it's back to the building blocks. Let's use that.
Okay, that works.
I deleted, like I pulled all the dates out of my scheduled posts because for me, everybody's different on this, but for me, seeing 3 weeks of things that I was supposed to post and didn't was just making it worse.
Yeah.
So I stripped all the dates out. I may delete some of the posts. I think there are posts that I first put up like months ago and I just haven't done them. I'm also open to the fact that maybe I just don't want to do that one. But I also have not been writing. And so that is one of the things we've talked about this on this podcast is there's lots of reasons people write, but one of mine is that I start to go a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs if I don't. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say is what I sort of did over the late last week and over the weekend, and especially on Monday. So what happened was Monday. Yeah, I think it was Monday.
Like 2 days, like,
no.
Okay, never mind. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Some day that I had, oh no, it was Thursday. It was last Thursday because normally we have critique and we didn't have it because they were at TLA.
Right.
And so I had the whole day, right? I had dropped my kid off at school and he's carpooling home. So I had the whole day and it was like 10 o'clock and I was like, wait a minute. I've just played Sudoku like for 2 hours. What is going on?
Yeah.
And so I kind of had a little sit with myself and I asked myself these questions, which we are going to talk about really quick, which is the questions I used to always ask when my kids were losing their minds, which is, are they hungry? Are they tired? Did they hurt themselves?
So your physical well-being, like, you're checking in on your body.
Right. Like, is that what's going? Because half the time you're super mad and then you realize you just need a glass of water.
Right. Or a nap. Like, seriously. Yeah.
Or something. Or was it that I just didn't want to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't want to do it,
why?
And so I kind of realized there were 2 separate problems because we sort of have done this some on the podcast, which is I was conflating their writing and the marketing, and they are not the same. They are part of the same career.
Well, and here's what I think challenge is with that is that's where it can feel so overwhelming. And that's why I am trying to do what I'm trying to do with accomplished authors, but also for myself, because it's 2 different brain maps that you're using for each one. And when you put all that together and you look at your week and you think, here's what I have to do, like it can shut you down, right? Like it's that whole, like, it's all or nothing. I was just saying this to someone. There was a book back in the late 90s that I read, and it was something like, Are You a Messie or something like that? And there are 5 different kinds, but a messie is a person who, and cleanies are not like this. If you see I should say, see like a clump of dirt on the floor, like a cleanie will just lean down, pick it up and throw it in the trash. As a messie, I look at that clump of dirt and I go, oh my gosh, I need to vacuum and mop and clean, and I leave the dirt there. Right? So
I don't have time for this.
Exactly. But it's the same principle, I think.
Right.
Like when you look at all the things and so you do nothing.
Yeah. So I did a couple things. One thing, okay, Amy Kelly, I have not told you about this yet, but you guys, you have to try it. You have to try this thing I'm about to say, even though it sounds so nutty. Which is when you're stuck with a question, which you're like, I'm like, wait, I just spent an hour and a half, 2 hours. I mean, sure, it takes a half an hour to like make coffee and stuff, but an hour and a half at least. I turn the computer on, playing Sudoku, Sudoku, however you say that. And so I sat down and was like, okay, brain, what is going on here? And I asked my left hand,
Oh, did you like write with your left hand?
I asked the question with my right hand. Hey, what's going on here?
Uh-huh.
Do we not want to do this? Do we not want to? And of course, because I'm an all or nothing person, it's like, do we not want to be a writer anymore?
Exactly. I can't write today. Yeah.
My left hand, which, oh my gosh, you guys, the brain science on this stuff is so cool.
Crazy.
That part of your brain that is your non-dominant hand doesn't, because it's not running the show, because it doesn't run the talking.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes acts, you know how toddlers act when they can't get what they want and they throw a big freaking tantrum?
I might be familiar with this. Yes.
That part of your brain starts doing that when you keep making it do things that it doesn't want to do.
Oh, interesting.
So do we self-sabotage on this podcast? Yes, I self-sabotage on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's
me. Hi.
Have been known to do that in the future, not to call myself it. Anyway, so being like, okay, what are we afraid of here? What's going on here? Because for me, avoidance is almost always fear. That's almost always what it is.
Absolutely.
And so I sat down. So I pull out this notebook and I start writing questions to my left hand, which does look exactly as much like, hold on. Looks like a little kid wrote it.
Which I love. Okay. Full confession, I used to practice writing with my left hand just in case.
My left hand is better than mine.
Well, no, yeah, I'm just saying like it was a challenge.
I'm sorry. There's no comparison.
No, there's not. Well, but I can also see where it's that whole, I don't know. I know there's probably a technical word, but it's the cross body thing. It's why, like when you're walking and you're swinging your arms, you can think better. Like a lot of times people take a walk to think, clear their head and that kind of thing. So it's that. I know, I'll run back to therapy again and explain. I do something called EMDR. And it's a lot of bilateral movement, right? Like where you're like, yeah. Anyway, so I can see how that would really help kind of shake some things loose.
So the point that I figured out was there's two parts. The part on the marketing side is I realized I have been mostly doing sort of lip syncing videos and not a lot of direct address because they do better if you look in terms of views and realizing that like, that's not, I mean, I am a person who actually likes social media. I do like it. I know a lot of people don't, I do, but why I like it for the authors I love is I love connecting with them. And so I'm like, if I am, and I think it's fun to do the lip syncing to the audio. It's
I do too.
That it's realizing like, oh, I need to not need whatever the word is for myself. Like I enjoyed making the YouTube videos. I like making this podcast, like to show up and make direct address videos where I'm saying, hey, this is my author day, or this is what I'm working on. And realizing what I have to do is my brain finds it very upsetting because the views are so low.
Oh, interesting. So because, for me doing those, it's the perfectionist part of me where it's really difficult for me to like do a direct to camera and not want to like chop it up and edit it and just like put it out there as is. Right.
Yes. And there's also like, there's a piece where Instagram, which has, this is so inside baseball, but Instagram, which has better captioning, has far worse filtering. So your light needs to be better. The great thing about TikTok with the filters isn't that, I mean, I love the eyelashes, but the great thing about the filters on TikTok is they fix your
lighting. Yeah.
And so on Instagram, you actually, and I have a perfectly good light thing. But it's the combo. But getting down to the truth of it, that's all the excuses I had given, but really realizing like, oh, and I got a royalty statement for lifestyles, which for those of you who don't know about traditional publishing, that come out twice a year. Well, the way royalties work, like even if I mean, I sold more books after the year of social media than I had sold in the year of not doing social media, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But you do not make very much per book. So when you start looking at the hourly rate, it's like, oh dear, like I could go to McDonald's. But of course, as I told a friend years ago when I was working at a bookstore, and she said, you could be working at Wendy's. I said, I don't want to work at Wendy's.
Yeah.
So that was the piece for the social media, which means for me, I also need to take seriously. And I was watching a few videos. People were talking about, okay, but if you're going to make direct address, you got to know when you're early on, you got to know your hook.
Yeah.
You got to know what you're sitting down to talk about. And so in a future episode, we can talk about that. Like, so it can't just be like me being like, oh, I'm going to talk now. And then having get 6 views. It's like, what's your hook? What's your value?
I actually had this conversation with a client yesterday. I've been calling it call to action, but we had a really great conversation. And I think within my own materials for my clients, I'm changing it to a call to connection, because you're a call to connection, because I think that's, as authors, what we're most excited about is connecting with our people, getting our books in their hands, and that kind of thing. And then I just want to address this too, because I feel like this is super important for all of us to remember, which is Lifestyles is your first traditionally published book,
right?
And not your last one. And I think the longer I'm doing this, the longer I'm writing, what I'm realizing is this is the long game. And I look back at my own patterns with finding authors that I love. And for instance, because everybody I know will be familiar with this, but Twilight, I did not discover that series and start reading it until right before the 4th book came out.
Right.
So what you're doing right now is laying the groundwork for your future readers.
Right.
So
and also I feel like for our audience to see that, like, these things that come up for you, they don't go away. If, like I was talking to someone recently and they were like, oh, you're so successful. And I was like, sure.
Thanks. I think.
Okay. Like,
but think about it, Em.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yes. And
you
the
are.
me of 2004 and 2012 and 2018 would be like, yes, you are. So that's that. I realized, okay, that's the piece with the social media. So that is a thing for me to look at and figure out whatever. And then the writing was sort of an interesting separate problem, which was I'm writing on this new book. I'm having a great time. I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but I have a problem with Amy doesn't. You don't have this problem.
Oh, well, say what it is. I don't know.
With the writing that's not the writing.
Oh, you mean like the pre-writing?
Represented by this deck of tarot cards.
Okay.
For those you see, because I'm writing this book with magic in it. I'm writing a book that has fortune telling and tarot in it. A year ago, I bought these tarot cards. And I haven't sit there. I don't know anything about tarot cards other than, and I have not sat there and figured it out what they are, or figured out when people are reading fortunes, what
does that look like, and what are they doing?
Well, what do they think they're doing? Not like what does it look like, but also like what are the, because if I'm gonna write a character who does this,
right.
And it's not about like, would someone who knows the tarot be upset? It's about, I'm writing a character who has this experience. What is that like? So I thought about it. And so on our Thursday, I sat there and spent 4 hours playing with the tarot cards. I thought
research. Yeah.
And
it's research. It is. Yeah. Research can be fun. I think it's funny you say that, because I do love the research part of it. I love the research part of it so much that that's where I get stuck, is in the research part of thing and not the actual writing part of thing, which I was going to share too. Like I have been doing more. Well, we've been out of town. I didn't prep the way that I would have liked to beforehand. So my social media has been more sparse than normal, more sparse, whatever. But I will say, like, even with the writing, I thought I would write while we were traveling. And normally I would, like, I've done that. It's not like a pie in the sky kind of hope or whatever. I've done that before. but I'm stuck right now. And I think it's because for me, I have a first draft, but I'm changing things drastically right now with my characters and with the storyline. But I still have some things that I'm pulling out from that first manuscript. So it's just tedious for me to like go through and change what, and I'm changing the tense and it's just,
Yeah.
it's tedious. And so just making myself sit down and do it. And I do the 5-minute thing. We've talked on a previous podcast about how you like to write in snippets. That's really hard for me to do. What I know about myself is if I can make myself sit down for 5 minutes, at the end of the 5 minutes, I'm not going to get up. Like
Right.
I just keep going. So the research part of things is where you are. And I think for me too, when you're having fun doing it, it doesn't feel like you're quote unquote working, but you totally are.
Yeah.
You are. And yeah.
Well, and what I found is, and this is the other piece, is that I have been doing some writing. Also, I went to a book event for a writer named Eli Craner, who's an Arkansas writer who's recently written a mystery thriller kind of book. And what he was saying, and I totally did this. This is the thing, is that he writes on yellow legal pads. But he said that before he starts a book, he actually fills a yellow legal pad with like telling himself the story. And he said oftentimes, because that's the other problem I'm having, is I'm sitting down to write, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know this. And then I'm like trying to fit, because there is some stuff where people will be like, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
But so this book is set in 1921 or 22, and her grandmother is a character, and I realized like, oh, her grandmother has to have been alive during the Civil War in Arkansas. Where was she? Like, I actually do need to know the answer to that question.
Yeah, and it might not show up in your manuscript at all, but you've got to know.
But I want to know, because it really makes a difference, or those kinds of things. So I spent the last couple of mornings, I went to the coffee shop and just for 2 hours, just longhand wrote. And it's a lot of stuff that although I just wrote a super fun little story from her grandmother's life. So I don't know if it'll end up in the book at all, but that was like, that feels like open road to me. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But I guess for our people to think about, like, what's your mindset? Like when you're stuck, like what's the
right. And I think the mindset that's helpful for me is to remind myself that this is not like the dire extremes like we've talked about. So it doesn't mean I'm not going to ever write again. It doesn't mean that I'm stuck forever. And now I need to go work at, Ann Taylor.
Barista.
Yeah.
Barista.
Right. So practically, I think I love what you suggested with writing with your left hand. That was great. And I think also kind of reevaluating, like, yes, you might be stuck on the writing part, but maybe it's actually your brain telling you, hold up, you're not ready to move forward. You've got some research to do.
Right.
And if you're an over researcher like I am, it might be that you do just need to keep writing. Right. You just need to put your hands on the keyboard and go, for sure. Yeah.
And so for the other thing is, and Amy and I have talked about this a lot, was for myself for this Thursday thinking about it, and even today thinking about it, is really trying to bring a real spirit of self-compassion. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Here's the thing, the stuff we do, there's a reason why a whole lot of people want to write a book
and don't,
and then haven't done it. It's because the stuff we do, it's hard. Like, it's not all hard, and it can be super fun, but like, I think there are very few people who are writers. I mean, I don't want to overstate how hard it is. It's not, we're not breaking rocks at a gravel pit, but it's emotionally, it's hard. It's hard to put your face on social media again. And it's hard. These things we do.
And you're excavating yourself and putting that onto the page, and that's super vulnerable. And so I think I always like to remind myself, okay, if this was a friend coming to me and saying, I'm stuck, I can't what would I say to her?
Right.
Right. And honestly, it's never what I've been saying to myself in my
Right.
own head. Right. Like
Right.
I've really, this is something I've worked on a lot, which is speaking to myself as a friend rather
Right.
than just the critical
Right.
voice that like flays you.
Yeah. In the whole, I was thinking about that the other day. In the whole history of friendship, I don't think I've ever called one of my friends lazy. Ever. Whole history of friendship. I've been friends
Or
with, I mean, maybe in elementary school, but like short of that.
maybe, or said to them, like with all seriousness and a load of disgust, what is wrong with you?
With you.
What is wrong with you?
Okay,
so
let's look at some practical. So for the practical side, I would say a few of the things I've talked about were seriously try the left hand thing.
yeah, for sure.
Second of all, but this is super important. This will come up in my book that changed your life app part of the thing, which, oh my gosh, you guys, I have a book to tell you about. But so I just listened to the audio of this book that Oprah co-wrote with a psychiatrist called What Happened to You, and it's actually supposed to replace the question of what's wrong with you. It's called What Happened to You. It is a beautiful book. There's a couple of really key tips in it, but one of them was talking about what to do when you're talking with someone who is activated or triggered or whatever the word we're going to use. They use activated, but they said, well, the first thing is you can't argue with someone whose frontal lobe is not engaged because their frontal lobe is not engaged. So they said, if you must speak to that person, beginning with just restating what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you, when your left hand says, this is stupid, because mine did, your answer is not, no, this isn't stupid. We're not getting in a fight with her.
Right. With yourself.
With our other no.
You're saying, tell me more.
Tell me more. What about this is stupid? Or you can just say, assuming that this is stupid and we don't want to do it. Why? Do we want to give up on this goal?
Right. I love that.
So I would say, and then also the other thing that I tried, which is change of venue,
that helps me a lot too. Like getting out and going to the library
format.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you switch things up in a way that makes it, can you bring a spirit of play?
Right. And I think too, going back to set a timer for 5 minutes and make yourself sit down and put, whether it's a pencil to paper or your hands on the keyboard, and just try, and even just put like, I don't know what to write here. I can't do, whatever it is, just to kind of get yourself started and see what happens, and give yourself the flexibility at the end of the 5 minutes to keep going or to stop, stopping, and try again another day. Yeah. So
I would love to know if anyone else is stuck. So feel free to tell us. And and also it's not permanent. Nothing. That's the thing. Nothing's permanent. Nothing's permanent.
Nothing's permanent.
Some things are permanent, but most things are not.
Okay. Well, I would like to know, Em, what book are you reading right now that is saving your life or saved your life in the past?
What happened to you? You guys have to check out this book. I listened to the audio, which is great because Oprah's reading to you, but really, really good. Okay, what about you, my friend?
I am reading the book that you suggested called The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control.
Isn't it?
Okay, it's so good. And I have figured out I'm a messy perfectionist. And which one were you? I can't remember. Parisian? Messy. Oh, you were a messy. Okay.
No, wait, which is messy? The Parisian is the one that's looking for friends.
People pleasing.
No. I'm the messy.
You're the messy one too. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, aren't we a pair?
Yeah. Anyway, there's our time.
All right. It was great to hang out with you guys. We look forward to seeing you next time. And just remember, make time to write.
Oh, and we have a Patreon, which I never talk about.
Oh, yeah. We have a Patreon. We would love for you guys to join it. You can go to our website, which is timetowritepodcast.com. Timetowrite.com. Sorry.
Okay.
You can find the link. Yeah.
You
can find the link.
Of hot messes. We should call this Hot Mess Podcast.com.
Time to Write with the Hot Mess Express. All right. You can look in our notes and link to our website there.
Exactly.
All right. All right, friends. Bye. Thanks so much for being with us today.
We love our people and we want to get to know you better.
So email us at questions@timetowritepodcast.com to have your questions considered for the show.
You can also suggest topics by emailing us there.
Also, drop us a review on Apple Podcasts. Not only will it thrill us,
Seriously, we read everyone.
it also helps others find the show.
We're driven by sharing stories, and your review helps us do that.
Just remember, your stories matter, and we're rooting for you to find time to write.
Even if it's only 5 minutes. 5 minutes, you can do it.
You can do it.